Forrest Neumann. I'm the recruiting officer here at the Boise State ROTC department. We've been talking with Colonel Hawbacker. We've got Colonel Heaton. We've got several other cadets here if you have any questions through all the different age groups from freshman through senior. So, and this is a little brief we've got that I'll be taking with me to high schools all around the Treasure Valley and maybe farther to introduce. Target audience to be high school juniors and or seniors, because we have a national scholarship program that works between that they can start applying to between the summer of their junior and their senior year of high school. All right. Mission of Army ROTC is to commission future Army officers for all the branches of the Army. We commission officers into the active component, into the Army National Guard, and into the Army Reserves. Army ROTC is spread out over approximately 300 host programs, just under 300 host programs, and there's over 1,100 campuses across the U.S. Some of the campuses that are part of our program, we've got Boise State, obviously, across town we've got NNU, they're part of our program, and then we've also got students attending from College of Idaho, College of Western Idaho. We've also got extension campuses over at Idaho State and Brigham Young University of Idaho. What Army ROTC constitutes, it's combining experienced cadre from across the Army who teach in a classroom environment, and then we do hands-on experiences, which is our labs, which are our weekly exercises, which go from everything from tactical exercises in the hills around Boise to rappelling exercises, range time. We also do some field leader reaction course, which is like an obstacle course with puzzles and stuff like that that challenge and build better teams amongst our cadets. We don't really limit in ROTC what students can do across the college experience. We want them to have the biggest and best college experience possible while they're attending ROTC. So they're able to join fraternities, sororities, sports teams, encourage those kinds of activities. And as I said earlier, Army ROTC produces approximately 75% of all Army officers. The other two sources would be the United States Military Academy at West Point and OCS. And there are very, very small portion that are direct commission. One of the biggest draws for Army ROTC is Army ROTC scholarships can pay full college tuition and fees. There's fee stipend for books, and or we can provide a rent stipend that covers housing for both semesters throughout college. And the goal there is to help the students focus on school and ROTC and let them graduate, or hopefully graduate, debt-free. How does it work? So Army ROTC classes are taken as college electives. We do not tell you what major you have to take. You're able to take any major that you so choose. You will receive, if you take all the required courses, a military science minor through ROTC. And then cadets choose and request when to contract into Army ROTC. So back to that initial point, this is, you can take the class as an elective your first 2 years. We don't require you, and you're not signing your life away the moment you sign up for an ROTC class. The credit load and time commitment does increase as you get into your senior years, your junior and senior year, which the junior and senior year are required courses. But during your freshman year, it's about 2 to 3 credits per semester, whereas it goes up to 4 to 5 credits per semester in your junior and senior year. Scholarship benefits, as I touched on briefly earlier, does cover full tuition and fees, or $5,000 per semester as a housing stipend. And we offer on the campus 3-year and 2-year scholarships. Those are competitive, so we take a bunch of things into account in terms of building a order of merit list in order to decide on a competitive list for who we're going to be able to give out those scholarships, and it's all depending on what Army ROTC is going to be giving to each program. What we were talking about briefly earlier is there's a 4-year and a 3-year scholarship competitive option that high schoolers can apply to. and that program does start June 12th between their junior and their senior year in high school. In addition to the tuition fees, there's also a book allowance, which comes up to $600 per semester. And also, once the student contracts, they also get a $420 a month stipend. So it's like a sort of another source of income to them. All right, so campus scholarship process, participate in lab, lecture and PT. PT is 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. In order to contract, we need you to pass a physical fitness test. If you're doing PT as an elective, we'll get you there. It's not that big of a deal. We have students who are contracted and getting a scholarship complete an academic plan, which is the 104R. What we're doing there is we're building out a map to help the students figure out their way towards graduation, and it keeps them on course to their final graduation, which the Army wants everyone to graduate in 4 years. And what we have the students do, take that form, and with their academic advisors, they make a plan. Hey, what courses do I have to take this semester, next semester, and so on. If they are interested in contracting, we do a physical paid for by the Army. So, and it's nothing necessarily to worry about. We're checking to make sure you're physically able to do the tasks that the Army is going to require of you. Recommend that students maintain a 3.0 GPA or above for their first semesters in order to remain competitive. No civil convictions, need to have a U.S. Citizenship, and meet height and weight standards.
So that might be a good point. Forrest, can you back up one?
Yep.
So Evan Urbeck, since you this is how you got a scholarship, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you just give a synopsis of your experience when you first enrolled in ROTC and kind of how you became competitive for a scholarship?
Yeah. So I'm Kenneth Urbeck. So I got a 3-year scholarship after I had already graduated high school. And the way that worked is, at the time, our recruiting officer was Major Hansen, or Mr. Hansen, and just talked to him. Me and my mom had talked to him, and I actually did a kind of like this, a Skype call with him, and had to kind of set up goals, and he just had to give me the rundown of what was going to happen. And he kind of, not guaranteed, but in sort of a way told me that I would be able to get a scholarship. And so kind of what Mr. Norman's been saying is a good GPA, very important. Physical fitness is really important. And so just showing up and having those.
Physically fit with a high college GPA, or did you get a good college GPA and have your own fitness journey during your
Yeah. So I showed up here and I was not in the best shape, but I worked hard and then slowly became better at PT. And high school, I had a really bad GPA, so I had to change that in high school, and so I made my GPA in college a lot better as well. Physical fitness got a lot better, and then after my first year, I was able to get that scholarship for 3 years. And so I'm going to leave college with no debt, which is obviously most kids' dream. So you just got to work hard, and school is the most important thing though. So make sure that is your number one priority, and then physical fitness would probably be right after that. So.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Forrest.
All right, so continuing on, we kind of talked about a few of these already, but there's a whole bunch of activities and opportunities that are offered through Army ROTC. We do field training exercises, the FTXs, once per semester. We do a lot of group PT competitions, obstacle courses, stuff like that. Ranger Challenge is a big event for all the schools across all of ROTC. That's in the fall. Each school fields a team, and then they compete regionally, and then they the winners of that move on to compete amongst the brigade, which is a larger, higher headquarters above us. And then the winners of that move on to compete across cadet command. And eventually, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, I think that the top teams from that can go on to compete with the Sandhurst competition.
Yeah,
That's
because it's a
something.
national competition. So,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, each college fields a teams of 10 to 12, and then they get a lot of extra training and practice as well. So it's all voluntary basis, but it's a lot of fun.
We do a lot of ruck marching, which we've got some pictures of that down here on the screen. The bottom right is actually, it comes from the Ranger Challenge this year. And then the middle picture was from the Baton Memorial Death March of this year, which is a large event. It's a full marathon down in New Mexico. This year it was canceled due to the coronavirus. And so the cadets decided to do a marathon marching with their rucksacks, their big backpacks, all around the Boise City area. And they did the full marathon and ended on campus. We do a bunch of land navigation tests throughout the year, and of course the Army Physical Fitness test, the APFT. Other fun things that we get to do, we're involved a lot with the home football games, firing off cannons, doing push-up challenges during touchdowns, stuff like that. And cadets form intramural sports teams, kind of compete in intramural leagues, stuff like that. I have had quite a few parents and students ask me about Airborne and Air Assault School, which are two of the most popular schools, and we get a lot of slots of those. Airborne School is jumping out of airplanes by parachute. Air Assault School is rappelling from helicopters by a rope. So, but we get quite a few slots to those two schools every year during the summer between school years. A lot of cadets and students vie for to be competitive to be selected to go to those schools. And cadets are still able to participate in club and NCAA sports programs. After graduation, so throughout Army ROTC, throughout your 4 years of school, but primarily through your first 3 years, you're working on building a score that's going to be as part of a giant OML or Order of Merit list that covers the entire nation and all the cadets. So that's your GPA, APFT, your physical fitness test, and Army ROTC leadership and participation assessments. And that goes into a giant score. There's somewhere between 5,500 and 6,000 cadets every year that are evaluated across the nation. And the higher you are, like it says, we got their top 10% guaranteed their first branch of choice. And so the higher you are on that list, the more competitive you are to get your branch. Branch, what I mean by that is infantry, which a lot of people think of when they think of the Army is infantry, armor, field artillery, engineers, stuff like that. But we've got branches that cover pretty much every career field. Aviation, military intelligence, we now have a cyber corps, medical. The Army is pushing a lot for nurses right now. We've got veterinary, doctors. We've got pretty much every job you can think of in the Army. So the Army needs a whole lot of different people to fill a whole bunch of different jobs, and basically take all the cadets from a year group and rack and stack them, and then they apply for what branch they want to go to. And the Army kind of fills based off of what they need and who's in what school. Students can choose if they want to stay in the Army National Guard or the Army Reserves, and they can also do those at the same time. There are other programs, and if we want to talk about that right now, Gango, from SMP. So there's options to do ROTC at the same time as you're doing National Guard time.
Yeah, absolutely. You want me to go over that, sir, right now, or?
Yeah, sure, if you want to.
Yeah, really quick. So there's a cool little program that the Army National Guard offers and also the Army Reserves offer that essentially you can join. You can join and both serve in both the as an enlisted member. So you can be both in the Army National Guard as an enlisted member or reserves. And you can also be in the program full time as a contracted cadet. Long story short, it's kind of one of those takeaways where if you're looking for kind of more benefits for school, for college, anything like that, you're looking for some extra money in your pocket. Then on the flip side of things, it's a great way to also get experience of what it is to be an enlisted member, right? So a huge thing I like to tell people is, you're going to be an officer after 4 years in commission, which is awesome, but it's kind of cool because SMP will also give you that essence of what it is to be an enlisted member. Whether that's going to help you or not, that's totally on you as the soldier, but it's a great way to get that experience. You do go to basic training, you do go get some job training. That way you get some qualification under your belt, whether that be like a medic or infantry, for example, but you can kind of do a boatload of different things. But it's a great way to get that extra experience under your belt. So it's an option for everybody. I teach the freshman level class, so it's really nice to kind of show those students and cadets that input of like, hey, you know, where you guys are right now, it's a great way to kind of look at those options out there. Especially if too, they missed a scholarship time or they're looking at different, you know, options out there. SMP's there for you. So it's a kind of a great way to get that extra experience. So.
All right. Thanks, Gango.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then down at the very bottom, we do have the final, we start talking about the commitments that the students, if they do commission through the Army ROTC program, what they do owe. And it does come out to 8 years, but that's not, it goes by pretty quick, but it's not the full 8 years. What they owe the Army is the 4 years if they are on a scholarship once they graduate into the active Army and Army National Guard or Reserves commitment is, I'm gonna have to check on this. I'm looking at this now thinking that's not right, but I think it's 8 years if they're actively drilling. If they are on a scholarship, then it's 6 years if they are non-scholarship. So non-scholarship students would be the one, most likely some of those students that are doing the SMP that Mr. Gango was just talking about, because they can get federal tuition assistance and state assistance to pay for school, which replaces the need for the scholarship. All right, so key takeaways. You can take Army ROTC classes without committing to join the Army, even if offered a scholarship. So you can enroll, open enrollment, participate in Army ROTC classes, and then we can start working towards getting competitive with your GPA and APFT and leadership ratings in order to be competitive for a 2 or 3 year campus-based scholarship. When you commit, so when you contract, that's when you start receiving the financial benefits, the stipend and the scholarship stuff. And once again, so the scholarship does pay for the full tuition and fees, with stipend, stuff like that. And finally, we'd like to say that ROTC cadets are a good pack to run with. I know that my experience was it was a great group of friends that I still keep in touch with. I know that the cadets here seem to form a pretty good close group knit of friends, and they push each other physically and mentally, and it gets kind of competitive, so they're pushing each other to try to do better and better and better and better. So it's a great group, and we encourage and push people to graduate within 4 years and be competitive. So it tends to push students to exceed even their expectations. Next couple slides, we got just a screenshot from Facebook, social media, and then I've got a link to my phone, our Army ROTC Boise State email, and then of course our various social media feeds.
So I've been in the program since day one, and I truly believe that me being here the whole time has made me overall a more competent, like, future leader. And whereas, like, some people, if you join a little bit late, you kind of get rushed into learning everything, whereas I've had the time to develop over the past 4 years. Some people can sometimes get crunched if you have to, like, if you join as an academic sophomore, then you have to crunch everything in 3 years. And then not saying that those people don't do well, it's just having to just being able to take your learning or learn over a longer period of time. It just kind of like solidifies everything that you learn. So I would say, like, I don't regret joining since day one. Like, I've loved, and like Mr. Norman was saying, is like I've made friends that I will talk to for the rest of my life, and I'm sure some of them will be at my wedding too. So, like, yeah, so it's definitely worth it to join early.
I would say that you can kind of join anytime in the program. There's like opportunities as far as scholarships go. I think that's what you're kind of talking about a little bit too. So we do have, like, as Captain Neumann was saying, 2 and 3 year scholarships as well as the 4 year. But the sooner you can get started, the better. I mean, we still don't turn away kids that are sophomores looking to join the program because we have opportunities for them to hop right in and kind of fit well. So wherever kids are at, we try to intermix them pretty well. But after your sophomore year, it gets really tough. I don't know if there's really a chance to join as a junior or senior.
Yes, there is. So we do have some to do that. And there's programs. This year's a little bit different, obviously, since there's a lot of travel restrictions and whatnot. But we're going through planning right now to still be able to do that, even for people coming in as juniors next year. Really, the mandatory classes you have to take there's 4 semesters worth of classes. So it's like the upper division, kind of like nursing or engineering has, the second 2 years, upper division. So you have to do that. There are, if you don't have 2 years left in college, then there are a lot of options to catch you up. It's either going to training over the summer, or there's a couple other options we can do in-house to have a more like 3 or 4 day intensive experience really to catch folks up. So there's options out there. That's there's many different paths that cadets take. We even have we don't have any in this group, but we have a few master's students as well. They're taking, while they're getting their master's degree on scholarship, they're taking classes, the ROTC classes as well. So there's quite a variety of different paths to take.
So I originally joined the National Guard, and then after I joined the National Guard, my recruiter, he kind of talked to me about ROTC, and that was something that I was definitely interested in. So my path, like I went through basic training, and then I came in as like a sophomore. So since I already had basic training, I got to skip those like MS1 years. So I came straight as an MS2, and that's like, I mean, the whole basic training thing really helped me because I felt like I came in and knew more than the average student. So that's been great. And I'm always constantly learning something. No matter how much I think I know something, I absolutely don't. So I'm constantly learning, and it's just been a great experience. It opens a lot of different opportunities. And one thing that I like is I know that I'm going to have like job security once I graduate. And that's a big thing for me. And I'll get experience in whatever it is that I choose.